and subsequently within 3 years my marriage breakdown, my life breakdown. Well, after that I suffered in a terrible car accident, a near fatal car. Jimmy Cliff was the first artist that I chose to sing reggae.
Oh, okay.
And but Jimmy Cliff was Muslim. So I contact my friend and tell him to go and see Bob Marley and insist that Bob Marley should be the leader. In this ordination, the Spirit came to me and said to me, and let's soundfully dub them from the hills, and let's dub them also from the valleys. Let's musically dub them from the streets, and dub likewise all them from the alleys.
Hello guys, welcome to Chat Jamaican. I am here with Mr. Ezra Carnegie, and he is a Jamaican-born poet for over 50 years. He has done many work, writing great and amazing poems. He also does artwork and t-shirts. He was one of the first person to bring reggae music to England.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Carnegie?
Yes.
Alright, so what do you remember about the place you grew up?
Well, I grew up in Kingston, and I went to school in Kingston. I was born on Princess Street, not far from Jubilee Hospital, because my mother usually tells me the history.
Yes.
That she walk from where she live and go to the hospital and have a baby son, and she walk home back after a couple of days, and it was more than 500 yards that I live from Kingston Public Hospital.
Okay.
That's where I was born and grew up there for many years, and started my schooling there on Charles Street in Kingston. And I've only ever really been to one school.
Which one of the school did you attend?
All Saints School.
All Saints?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a school now banned at the government after the arrival of Emperor Selassie. The government of Jamaica seems to put that school into redundance.
Okay.
To be truthful, I went to another school for a time, you know. I went to a school named Bethany School in Manchester.
Oh, Bethany.
Yeah, it's not far from Devon and Mile Gully. And after that, I went back to Kingston to do my exam.
So which family member was in Bethany, in Manchester?
Oh, I live with my grandmother, you know, Victoria Williams. Grandmother died at 100 and some years, you know.
Yes.
And she's one of the main reasons why I'm here in Jamaica, because when I came back and buried her, I have managed to leave Jamaica since then, you know.
Oh, okay.
My first job actually in England was working for a bird cage factory. They made bird cage and things like that.
Yes.
Yes, in Mitcham, England, right? I left school directly and went to that job, you know. And I think I worked at that place for some months before things didn't work out after some time, and so I decided to move on, you know.
Okay.
And that is all life was then.
Yes. Alright, so when did you first realize you wanted to be a poet?
I had an ordination when I was about 14 years of age. In this ordination, the Spirit came to me and said to me, you know, it's like, young man, you are chosen to do a work, you know. And I'm saying to the Spirit, how can you choose me? And everything just glow in a silvery shine appearance, and it's like a spiritual being then, or an angel or something like that. Young man, your job is to change Jamaica from abstract to concrete. You know, and I'm saying abstract to concrete, and I really didn't know anything at that time, you know.
Okay.
But I was reading Longfellow, and I was reading Shakespeare at that time, and I was reading poetry at that time, and I was reading the Bible at that time.
So you were inspired?
Yes, I was inspired, you know, but it came really through the ordination, and I couldn't, my mind, since I'm 14 years of age, up until now I'm 70, hasn't really strayed far from writing, hasn't strayed far from like setting up a spiritual communication whereby I'm inspired to write certain things. I mean, I can't tell you about no teacher that I sit with, but I still manage to acquire a knowledge which is concrete into the knowledge system whereby I can differentiate between what is writ.
Okay, so how long does it take to write your poems?
Well, it all depends again. The changing of the tide. I can write a poem, but because I write it in present tense, probably after a week or a month, it becomes a future tense. So at that given time, I might review the poem and bring it from a past tense to a present tense or to a future tense. So in the projection of my mind and how I can project the poetry within a limited sphere, I kind of do that, you know.
Okay.
Alright, because I write several poems with just one word to the line. So if I'm writing a 16-bar poem with one word, it's only 16 words.
Okay. You want to share one of your poems?
I don't mind sharing one of my poems, but because you've never read one of my poems, my mind is like ups and down which poem to read, you know. I
share one of your favorite.
Well, I write a sonnet, and I call this sonnet Reggae, right? I won JCDC bronze medal. Dub. Jah is the sound authentic creator. Pit always, Jah can make the greater muss. Jah, thou art the original master. Pit always, Jah can make disaster rust. Time in fact the world's greatest healer. Pit, time, surely can be the beauty us. Sublime truly is the factor. Do always spread out, do always scatter. And let's soundfully dub them from the hills, and let's dub them also from the valleys. Let's musically dub them from the streets, and dub likewise all them from the alleys. Let's dub the music reggae that matters. Dub reggae sounds is hotter and hotter.
Who inspired you to create that poem, Dub?
Well, it's the condition of dub why I write that. Because I did write, I wanted to write what I'm going to say. And because the tape was blank, I had to write the same, I had to write in a blank way what I'm going to say. So it just becomes my ears rather than the speech when I write dub. It wasn't to do with anything other than just filling out the void.
Okay. So, how did you meet Bob Marley?
You know, we've never actually met, you know. I had an agent, a friend of mine, Anthony Green, who used to live on Walton Park Road.
Yes.
When I used to live in Walton Park Road, And I moved from Princess Street when I was about 9 years old. I went to live in Walton Park Road, Whitfield Town, and started to grow up there and make some kind of friends. Now, upon migrating to England, I kind of go over there and started again and meet some St. Lucian, and we wanted from an early age to spread a culture. So I introduced them and tell them that I could organize, get a new music, which was about 1968, 1969. So I contact my friend and tell him to go and see Bob Marley and insist that Bob Marley should be the leader of the music fraternity, because Bob Marley was complaining that he making records and Lee Scratch Perry send them come to England. And because I was the recipient of these records from the record store,
yes,
I started to develop disco. Eventually we had a discotheque in St. Lucia. By 1979 we were established as St. Lucia as a discotheque island and Jamaica as a music producing island. So we were getting soca from Trinidad and reggae from Jamaica, which could balance the discotheque to bring on something new in the world as a modern way, you know.
Okay.
Okay. So that's how that Bob Marley, I invited him to come to England and told him when he come to England he should have come and see me, but I told him that there is an available space because Jimmy Cliff was the first artist that I chose to sing reggae.
Oh, okay.
And but Jimmy Cliff was Muslim and I wasn't Muslim, so me and my partners them voted that we couldn't carry the Muslim fraternity into the modern times right now. So we chose Rasta as a offshoot of Christianity, right?
Okay.
And started to promote Rasta back into the 60s, right?
Yes.
And it just comes about that Bob Marley said, yes, he may do it. And henceforth, these streets of reggae music begin by him is the champion because he get the position to forward, you know?
Okay. So have you ever published any of your poems?
Well, not to no great extent. Not to any extent other than making them and selling them, right? Because that is how my license set up. I make a commodity, I sell it, and I move on, right?
Okay.
I have not any commercial deal.
Oh.
But
you plan to do that then, to have them published, yes. So you're seeking a publisher?
Yes, I'm seeking somebody with the forward knowledge to acknowledge
how
myself.
To
yes,
publish
myself,
your work?
Yes, myself as an author, right?
Yes.
I make records, I make DVD, I make t-shirts. I mean, Byron Lee cut 45s for me, but I've never sent them out. I have my own record label as well. So it's just a question mark of knowing, am I into a business with somebody?
Oh, okay.
Yeah? It's like the article of memorandum has to state what I'm doing as well as what the person is doing. You know, I've been through the government, I studied in England. When I'm leaving England, the last place I went to study is with the Prince's Trust. And I get a business diploma from them to start business.
Okay.
And that was many years ago. Many years.
Yes. You have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have one brother in England and I had two sisters, but one of them subsequently has died. We really just play about, nothing extraordinary. There was a whole, like a whole piano, so we play about with the piano, and for most of the time I went into sound system. So if they could assist me right up to the time me and my brother made my first studio recording.
Okay, so you used to record music and so on?
Yeah.
What was your musician name?
It was a light barnet and drums, Slim Lovelace and bass, Kevin Gunter and rhythm, myself and percussion, and a couple of more people used to check in sometime, you know. I used to sing. When I was much younger, I was like a lead singer.
You remember any of your songs?
No, I never stayed in it for long because I really didn't fancy myself as a singer, you know, and I really looked, I thought Bob Marley was a good singer, but he was a sufferer. Right, and through him was a sufferer and carried a different speed to the normal people, right? So mainly him could have worked through him pain.
Yes, and use it to develop some positive songs.
Yes, so that's probably one of the reasons why I wasn't really a sufferer. I could instead of making the records,
yes,
I could use the recordings in a greater way. So I opted out of singing and went into making and reproducing songs.
Okay. So have you ever been married, and if so, how did you meet your spouse?
Well, to be truthful, I've been married once. I had a dream that I was going to meet a woman from Spanish Town. And I used to go to Spanish Town to visit my other grandmother, and sometime when I leave Spanish Town, go watch show and all them things before I go back to town. And every Sunday, at least, me have to go to my grandmother, eat and keep my clothes, and we go to school and all them things, they clean and represented. So I meet my dreams, me have to meet this lady, but as soon as me approach the lady, it's like the lady disappear. And as me go to London, I see her.
The same lady?
Yes. And I tell her we must have been about 17, 18. And me tell her plain and straight, say I see her in my dream, and I will try and take her to another extreme. And she was alright. She said she can't dig that, you know. And we started a relationship, and by the time in 1920 she got pregnant with my daughter, Denise. And after that she had a son and another daughter for me. So we got married, and we was living together for up to about 12 years.
Yes.
But the pressure of work came down on me, and I left them for 6 months and went to live in Barbados and St. Lucia.
Okay.
And well, after that, I suffered in a terrible car accident, a near fatal car accident.
Where did the accident took place?
In St. Lucia.
Oh, okay.
And Monarch here from Spain helped me by taking me out of St. Lucia and taking me to Canada. And I left from Canada and went back to England. And subsequently, within 3 years, my marriage broke down, my life broke down. I ended up in a jail and all them things there. And in England, because my head burst and my spine ruptured, and the whole of my right side kind of listed. So I left England and come home to Jamaica.
That was what year? You remember the year?
I think about 1983.
1983.
Yeah, and my mother came for me in 1988. And the ice bucket dropped off at the fridge top and dropped on her foot. And then start to amputate her to a Mandeville Hospital. And Dr. Wellington, the doctor in charge at the time,
Yes.
says he was going to cut off her foot at the knee. And she said she now stay in Jamaica. So she asked me to take her back to London. And 1989 we take her back to London and meet my children them again, and we started to live a normal life, and I moved. But by then time my wife and me had a divorce.
Yes.
And she did move
Due
on.
to the length of time.
Yes. So she moved on with her life, and we decided, well, may have to find the angle. And it came to me in St. Lucia that I should write, because when I meet into the accident in St. Lucia, it cost me almost everything what I had. I end up in the hospital, Castridge General Hospital.
Yes.
And he was in there for several weeks. But me deterred the doctor them from operate, because me
So you had family support over there?
No, it was just my own work, my own effort, you know.
Okay.
But it started if go. The mentality was beginning to deteriorate because of the accident.
Yes. Because it set you back.
Yes, it set me back, and I couldn't earn at that given time. I physically couldn't take no part. Anyway, I leave and go back to London and come back to Jamaica. My mother comes to me, and I go back to London with my mother and stay from 1989 till 1995. My grandmother died at 100 and either 106 or 101, or it's one of them years. So because my grandmother died, my mother also died too, right?
Yes.
So in order to represent my mother, I have to come to my grandmother. I have to bury my mother and then bury my grandmother, and the three of we have the same birthday, which is first day of the year.
January 1?
Yes. So my birthday is January 1, my mother's birthday is January 1, my grandmother's birthday is January 1. We rule under the power of the Trinity, and I being the only male and them being the female.
Okay.
So that is how my life constructs.
So how do you get your ideas, knowing that you have made the decision to write at that time? How do you get your ideas to write your poems?
Situation drama. If the situation occurs, then I kind of find the words, right?
Yes.
And if I read to, and I kind of translate, right? And if the situation is current, then I can dive into it currently. Probably if I was to say, this piece of work that I did last year, right? And it titles Lockdown, right? The lockdown. I write it when Corona struck, right?
You want to read it?
Yes, please. Title The Lockdown. I will tell all this as to where it works, going from side to side until words spoke, relishing the fact as to ways gently, or bemoan the stops when driving sprightly. Rooms in hospital, beds in a hotel. Don't accept any brand account of breaks. With items to buy, so many strike terms, observing prices sky high, good places lockdown. The lockdown?
Lockdown.
Yeah. So this is how Corona came to me, right? And this is how people started to panic and everything started to lock down. So I'm saying to myself, Lord, this is the sign of the times. I can't even write sometimes I used to read the Bible and write religiously. And this wasn't anything to do with religion, this was to do with a condition. So I write concrete curtains because it moved me into a nuclear age. And it was showing me currently what is happening. And I had to prepare my mind mentally for the future. Because it really means to say what is going to happen next year.
Do you remember what age you wrote your first poem?
Those poems, I suppose, are going way back when I was not even, to be truthful with you, I used to write some excellent piece of work in school. And I can remember when I showed it to the teacher wouldn't even bother to put a sticky on it. She write a big capital R. So I'm saying to myself, how come you don't give me a sticky? She said, well, I'll give you a R. You know, and I felt good about writing compositions. And with that, I could easily well get a seat in London.
Yes.
So the Queen said, come and study in London, you know.
So what does your family think about your writing?
Well, they live in hopes.
They read it? They saw it?
Yes, them always comment, you know, but because I never stop and I'm not into the business side of it, then the reward is very, very poor to me, right?
Yes.
But should it becomes synonymous with anything, anyone, right? And there is a reward to be had, and that reward arrives in my quarters. I think they would have show added interest, you know. I mean, people that read them, but because of copyright and ignorance, it's just not available to the literate mind, you know. If them alright, them read it and them like it and them try to promote it as best as them can.
Yes. Alright, so about how many poems have you written so far? You have a figure to the amount?
Probably 2,000 or 3,000.
About 3,000? Okay.
If that much, yeah. But I wouldn't think
that is a lot.
Yeah, I don't think so. So far I've written about 40 novels.
Yes, and it's over 50 years, so probably you should have had more.
Yes.
Or maybe there's more and you're not accounting for them.
Yeah, well, I used to write in leaf. On leaf. And then about 20 odd years ago, the Arts Board in London said to me, why don't you write novels and exhibit the novel pieces? This is one that I've written, Inspiration. The complete thing, right, was done by me. The next one to this is Visions of Orthodox. And I did a DVD for Visions of Orthodox.
Yes.
And I took it up to Ilan Gully Ride, to the television center, and them said that I was too young and I hadn't done enough. So I give them the video and
you didn't receive a call?
No, because I didn't do a show one time with Muta Baruka. I used to exhibit at the library because the Jamaica National Library Service has given me the 14th parish capital to exhibit and recite.
Yes.
But I need transportation and I need collaboration to take on the island and look at it objectively. There is a void out there, and I see this void, and the government see this void. But to organize filling out this void means that we have to gather some stability and we have to gather some staff.
Yes.
Right, without the right staff and the right stability and the right temperament, it's like we just drive from venue to venue, and we want it to be more appealing, you know.
Okay.
I mean, me deep.
Alright. So what are the most important lessons you have learned in life?
Well, to be patient and to understand God's will and to know that we all come on earth to see the sun every day for the duration of our lifetime. And this is what matters. If you can see the sun at a daily rate, you are doing God's work, just by observing the day.
Okay.
When you cannot see the sun, it's like you're a part of God punishment or whatever is gone away from you. My duty is to serve God, as how me feel in myself, and help mankind.
So what are some, what advice could you give to young poets out there or persons who would want to do poetry? What advice could you give to them?
One basic advice: write poems by syllables. Don't write poem by words. Write poem by syllable. Always know a line of poem is 10 syllables. So anytime you write 10 syllables, you've written a line. I mean, any duration, but some people write abstract work because they have no knowledge, no further knowledge. I mean, I am a concrete poet, so anything that I'm going to write, the grammar mightn't be right, but the grammar can change from a past tense to a future tense.
Yes.
So the thing to know what you're doing is to write concrete. Don't write one thing and say I hate that. Because it is never that,
Okay.
Continue to write. The art of writing is rewriting. That is writing. The art of writing is to rewriting, and to write poetry is to write by syllables.
Okay. So how would you like to be remembered?
I would just like to be remembered for the things that I do, and if they appeal to you and they can transpire your life in any way, that is how I would like to be remembered, the man who see the void and fill the void. But I didn't fill the void with abstract work. I fill the void with concrete work, which really matter, because there's so many people in Jamaica as DJ, but none of them know concrete, and yet still they are DJ. So the rhythm that we have and devise punch words in our mind, right? Now to make sense of those words, there's only few people is gifted enough to do that, right? Because them break down before the total thing is made.
What is it that you're most proud of?
Well, I'm proud of my children, I'm proud of all of my children, I'm proud of them, proud of the ones them in England, proud of the others. I'm really proud of my children because none of them are weak, and all of them willing to show me that them no must be a writer. But them have the sense and the intelligence to take on the work,
Okay.
Be persistent, it's the key. Be insistent if you want to get on, and show determination in art and craft. Because if you don't show determination in art and craft, simply become complacent. So you have to keep on. You have to press on. Each day the sunshine, and you see the sunshine, it carries a new inspiration, And if it's even to make the colors thicker, and that you have to do. Thicken the color.
Okay.
That is it,
Guys, a very interesting interview with Mr. Carnegie. I do hope that you were inspired by his work and story, I will leave with you one of his poems from the Visions of Orthodox. Overstanding. For your guidance, for your directions, for your relations, for your spirits, I thank you, Jah. For your beginnings, for your ending, for your path, for your way, I thank you, Jah. For your enlightening, for your knowledge, for your overstandings, for your wisdom, I thank you, Jah. For your love, for your grace, for your hope, for your peace, I thank you, Jah. For your possibilities, for your differences, for your access, for your blessing, I thank you, Jah. Thank you for watching Chat Jamaican. Lick more. Bye.